Yes, my amplified unit. Salute. Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast, Thursday, August the 10th, 2023. I'll be your host with everybody saying BC Amplified. Yeah. We have a lot to get to today, but I want to start off with a huge congratulations. Rhea Ripley and Buddy Murphy Matthews, announcing their engagement. A soon-to-be newly happy married couple. That is awesome. Funny, just a few weeks ago, there was all these reports that their relationship was on the rocks and that Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio were getting really close backstage. So here it is, not too long after, and it's the exact opposite. Rhea Ripley posted a picture of them. It looks like it was right after the question was asked by Matthews. And Rhea put up a caption, 1,000 times yes, pure effing happiness. Rhea Ripley, 26. Buddy Murphy Matthews, 34. Interestingly enough, Dominic Mysterio, also 26 years old, same as Rhea. So I think they just have a lot in common, probably. Same age, same era in a lot of things. So I think they're just really good friends. Leave it at that. Buddy Matthews is now going to tie the knot with Rhea Ripley and vice versa. Congratulations, man. That was pretty cool to see, especially when you see all the reports and you're thinking, oh, man, hey, you got to give Matthews a lot of props. I mean, this is a dude that I believe, I can't keep track with all this, man, nor do I really care, but I believe he was dating Alexa Bliss at one point. So, Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, Buddy Murphy Matthews. He has, he's got the mojo, bro. Salute to Rhea Ripley and Matthews. Pretty cool. Couple of wrestling birthdays I want to give a shout out to. Wade Barrett, 42 today. Happy birthday to Wade Barrett, and a big happy birthday over to Savio Vega. A lot of you guys might not know who that is, but that's going back to BC's era. I'm dating myself a little bit, but that's a little ways back. Savio Vega, a big part around that Attitude Era, believe it or not. Just because he wasn't in the main event doesn't mean he wasn't a big-time player. Today's podcast, guys, when I say we have a packed, stacked, jacked show for you today, I mean, there are so many stories. We got to try to contain it within about an hour. But we're going to talk Brock Lesnar, little contract status update. We have the latest on Brock Lesnar. We also have the latest, the official word on that big discussion. Should Cody Rhodes have been disqualified during SummerSlam, his match with Brock in the steel steps? The wrestling community kind of at odds. Everybody has a different opinion or thought process on it. Well, now a couple of officials who have worked in WWE officiating, we now have confirmation the bickering can all end. It's exactly what we thought. During the live Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for SummerSlam. It's exactly what we thought. We'll talk about it. Should that have been a DQ or not? Well, now WWE officials have stepped up and have put that discussion to bed, to rest. We're going to talk about should it have been a DQ or not. We're also going to talk AEW. Wait till you hear what they're doing in November. WWE has a big month planned in November, and AEW is going to kind of snuggle right in between with a big event that they either have announced or will be announcing later in the week. Wait till you hear that. We'll go over the Dynamite results from last night. Not a full review, but the results. A couple of big things happening and setting up All In Wembley later this month. We're also going to talk Roman Reigns' big injury coming out of the main event at SummerSlam. Roman Reigns injured, but BC has the latest. Don't be too concerned. We'll leave it at that. That's the teaser. I got the latest on Roman's injury. We're also going to talk, speaking of that main event, a lot of the wrestling world kind of shocked at what they heard was not even discussed for that main event. I'm not shocked by it, but a lot of people are. We'll talk about it. A WWE superstar gets a big name change, and a tag team in WWE is going to be completely repackaged finally. And BC is going to say, while it's for the best, it's also a shame. All of that, NXT's rating this week, wait till you hear what they pulled in. Shocking for a lot of people. And I'll tell you what this means going forward. We got the Raw rating, Collision, how were they able to do against SummerSlam, and a hell of a lot more. It's all coming up in the Amped Up podcast for Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Smash that up, help out the algo, let BC know you're amplified by smashing that up. Get your swig of whatever you're drinking, double shot, extra, extra Dunkin'. Come right on back and let's get amplified. We always talk about how the podcast itself is packed, stacked, and jacked. That cold open teaser was packed, stacked, and jacked. Damn. BC hasn't even gone to the gym yet today. That'll be later this morning. It's very early right now. Today is Delt Day. BC loves Delt Day, so we're already rocking, so you know it's going to be a packed Amplified podcast today. So glad to have all you guys joining my Amplified Unit Red Team. Go all the way to the gold unit, my channel members. Much love and respect always, man. We got super thankses from the last podcast to go over later in this edition of the Amped Up podcast as well. So much to go over. So I want to get right into it. There really is no time to waste, man. We'll go into... okay, let's start with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, the reports we heard after SummerSlam is that he's going away for a while, and he's not going to probably return till about Royal Rumble, set up WrestleMania. Now, that is not what BC is hearing at all. I am hearing he will be in Saudi Arabia November 4th. November 4th-ish, and I think that's the exact date. November 4th is when WWE is planning on holding their next Saudi Arabia big show. November 4th. It's not far away. So I'm hearing that they want Brock Lesnar there. They're going to offer him a full $1 million like they always do. And Brock Lesnar is most likely not going to turn it down. He will show up like he always does because it's $1 million. So is that signed? I believe not. But is it going to happen? I believe so. Brock Lesnar not showing up to Saudi? No, that's like BC not starting his day with a coffee. I don't see that happening at all. So I fully believe what I am hearing over the reputable reports we heard. And they were reputable. I want that to be known. This isn't shitting on anybody else's report. It was actually pretty reputable that he's going to go away most likely for the rest of the year and reappear around Royal Rumble. However, I am hearing that he is not going to miss the next Saudi show. So I'm gonna believe my people a little bit more in this case. Take that for what you guys will, but do not be surprised if next month or maybe beginning of October-ish, Brock Lesnar reappears to start something. I don't know who he was supposed to leave heelish, right? Because he's going to put Cody over, then walk out of SummerSlam like, you know, the beast just got slayed. What does Brock do next? Instead, Brock went into business for himself. Paul Levesque McMahon admitted that was not planned after that match. He just went in there, head-butted Cody Rhodes in a sign of respect, shook his hand, held up his arm, basically hugged it out. So then he walked away as a face. Man, that really limits how he can return. It's always the same when Brock goes away for several months and comes back. He comes back, he's going to fucking destroy somebody. And then the hard part is caring about it afterwards, right? This whole summer, a lot of fans could not even care about Brock versus Cody. No reason to the story, so there was no story. And on top of that, he was gone so often. Every time he came back, the only story we got was he was going to break Cody's arm every single time throughout the summer. So Cody ended up with 17 broken arms. But that's just not possible. And then all of a sudden, Cody's smiling and shaking his hand and they're hugging it out afterwards. But that doesn't make sense if somebody broke your arm 17 times. So now you want Brock to come back a few weeks before Saudi Arabia. And who's he taking out? You're going to redo an Omos feud? Who? Who is there, man? You going to go for the IC title against Gunther? How is that going to pan out? Gunther shouldn't be losing. I'd rather Chad Gable than Brock Lesnar taking an IC title. Brock isn't going to win an IC title, nor should he be beating Gunther. I don't know who's there for him to take out. Brock versus both Viking Raiders? They'll think of something wild outside the box, and I can't say we're going to be all in for it. No pun intended. But that's the latest with Brock. Expect him to be right back in about a month to maybe 6 weeks to start setting up Saudi Arabia's next big show, early November. Speaking of, you know what? This is a perfect time to talk AEW and what they're doing in November. But let me first stick with that SummerSlam match, Brock versus Cody. Listen to this. Now, you guys remember there was a point in this match where Cody used the steel steps against Brock. And right there, the whole wrestling world, a lot of them was like, shouldn't that have been a DQ? Now, still to this day, fans are adamant it should have been. Some fans have come around and just said, it is what it is, because of the hostility in the match, right? How volatile it was leading up to it. How many times Cody got his arm broke and how the situation is so intense. The referee let it go. Oh yeah, real intense, to the point where they were hugging it out after the match. That's why Brock going into business for himself all the time and doing whatever he wants. Sometimes it's not the best for the story. But a lot of fans said, just let it slide. All right, it is what it is. Well, not so fast, man. You want to believe that the referee is doing their job. In AEW, a lot of the referees, they just go rogue, right? They don't. It looks like they don't know what they're doing half the time. Especially the little one there, the little bald one. Who is he? Bryce something. I don't know his last name, but he's always in the corner and he's doing the Macarena and he's yelling a bunch of stuff and nobody's listening to him. A tag match is a tornado tag. Nobody's listening. He's got no authority. Looks like he doesn't know what he's even doing. Okay. AEW, the referees are still a little rough around the edges, and that's being generous. We can let that slide, I guess, because it's AEW officiating. We're used to it. But for WWE, you can't let that slide. He took the steel steps, and he bashed him into Brock Lesnar's side. So the whole wrestling world has kind of been talking about that over the week. It's been it's a fun discussion, right? Should it have been, shouldn't have been. Well, former WWE official Jimmy Corderas and former, can't believe I'm saying that, I don't know how you lose a guy like this, but Mike Chioda, both have confirmed, yes, it should have been a DQ instant. I can do better than that. Hey, there you go. Instantly, it should have been a DQ. The rule is you can send a wrestler into the steps as it is part of the ring. And I had a good super thanks a couple podcasts ago that kind of alluded to that. So that was a really good super thanks. You were almost right on the money there. You were right on it. Because it's considered a part of the ring, you could actually throw them in just like you could a ring post in most situations. Unless it's too much and the referee told you to stop 18 times, they can DQ you. But because it's part of the ring, sort of. I mean, it's shaped to go right onto the post, so they issue that as part of the ring. You can send your opponent into the steps. You cannot remove those steps and clock your opponent with it. It is the same. I think it was Chioda who said it. It's the same as pulling the turnbuckle off and using the exposed steel. The buckle itself, no padding, I should say. Taking the padding off. Well, the padding and the buckle, of course, is part of the ring. You can throw your opponent into the turnbuckle all you want. The second you remove that pad, the referee instantly has to DQ you. So that clears it up. Yes, it should have instantly been a DQ, and that's why when we were live, BC in the unit, my gold team, it was a channel members chat only during SummerSlam. What a party that was. And we were all like, whoa, this doesn't... But it makes sense, doesn't it? Because the story never made sense from the beginning. There was never a purpose or a reason. So the whole summer with Cody and Brock's just been weird. There's never been a reason. A story always needs a plot, needs a purpose, right? A story with no purpose is no story at all. And then the feud was just Brock showing up once a month, breaking Cody's arm and going away. Talking shit to the family, beating up in front of his Ma Dukes, and going away. And then when it was ended, They just shake hands, hug it out. Brock's showing, the ultimate respect for Cody. Cody's smiling. Thank you, Brock. You don't understand any of it, but that's, I guess, Brock and Cody this summer. So it makes sense that it should have ended in a DQ blatantly in front of the ref while he's watching the steps going to Brock. And the ref is just like, well, that's just not how the finish is supposed to be. So, thought that was a little bit of a more fun story, but we can finally all just, whether you like that call or not, the fact is instant disqualification, and it just wasn't called. So that's why a lot of the wrestling world is like, how did that match continue? It's good that fans understand the rules and want them to be followed, right? It's what I love about FTR when they went to AEW. They said, we're going to bring respect back to tag wrestling because they know it wasn't happening in WWE and they wanted AEW to follow all the rules and really be old school tag wrestling. And the second they got there, I still don't see anybody holding the white rope. I see tornado tag every single matchup. The referee lost all control if he ever had it. The rules, man, it's you can't have complete anarchy in all these matches because then they don't have substance. And without substance, you can't really care about them. Anyway, fun discussion. Yes, officials, big one. Jimmy Corderas, Mike Chioda, some of the most respected in the business, have admitted it should have been an instant DQ. All right, moving on. That's all the Brock Lesnar news you want. Or maybe you didn't even want it, but you got it anyway. Moving on. Big name change going on. You notice how I said big 3 times? Big name change is now official in WWE. Big Bronson Reed is now official. Now, we've been hearing that nickname a couple weeks now. It is now an official name, man. Marketing, promotion, everything. Trademark, it's all going into Big Bronson Reed. Oops. BC can take a little bit of unfortunate credit for that. You guys know for a few months now, I've been calling Bronson Reed Big Bronson Reed way before WWE. It's just something that rolled off my tongue. Miz versus Big Bronson Reed next. Shinsuke versus Big Bronson Reed. And I always say Bronston, actually. I call him Big Bronston with a T-O-N. Big Bronston Reed is what I call him. Well, I always tell you WWE is always listening in with the amplified unit and this channel, and sure enough, that's the case. They liked what they heard from BC, even though I was just screwing around with it. And they said, I like it. Big Bronson Reed. And there you go. Oops. Sorry, unit. I didn't think they were literally going to take that from me, man. Usually I just aggravate them. So Big Bronson Reed, that is now official. Now, another big change is with a tag team in WWE. You haven't seen him in a while. Masay and Mansoor, they are being completely repackaged, we are hearing. Now, on one hand, you say, good, long overdue, never should have been what they are. Maximum male models. And at least they switched up Max Dupre into LA Knight, and at least they switched up Maxine into the fun she's having right now with Alpha Academy. Now, on the other hand, it's a shame, and it sucks because Masay and Mansoor, Mace and Mansoor, they put everything into these characters, guys. And that's where I got to give them the utmost respect and a massive salute to the most amplified of measures. Mace and Mansoor said, this is what you got. Do with it what you will. Make it the best you can, or it's going to fail miserably. Well, if you look at the gimmicks, it was destined to fail miserably anyway. But they decided they're going to give it everything they have to give it the best chance, the best shot at working. Unfortunately, booking did not get behind them. It never connected, nor was it ever going to with the way they were used, which goes back to the booking. And then they just sat in catering more times than not. And when they don't even see you on TV, well, that's the final nail in the coffin there. They're not even out of mind, or out of sight, out of mind is the old adage. They don't see them, just like I said about LA Knight. LA Knight being kept off of pay-per-views or kept off Madison Square Garden SmackDown, showing up in a dark segment. That's not cooling LA Knight off. That's trying to shut him down. But it didn't. The fans still stuck behind him. So finally they said, all right, it's been 7 months. I think we finally have to push him. His cheers were starting in February, right after the Bray Wyatt feud. You guys remember? Right after Royal Rumble. And so people say every time Bray works with somebody, the other guy comes out worse. No, that's not true. LA Knight came out of the Rumble and Bray Wyatt's feud as a main eventer type pop. And for 7 months, Levesque McMahon just sitting catering. We'll call you when we have something for you. We'll tell you when we're going to put you on a show. Left him off WrestleMania, Night of Champions, Backlash, you name it. Finally put in Money in the Bank, but that's because it was a multi-man schmoz match. Lost that. And finally gets to enter a 25-man Slim Jim Battle Royal. Well, I would hope so. There's 25 individuals. I hope you have room for one of the most over dudes in the business. 7 months it took. And I told you guys, man, leaving him off shows, that's not doing him any service. The IWC will still cheer him. That's fine. But you're not allowing any new eyeballs to say, wow, everyone's cheering. This guy's super over. Maybe I have to find out more of why I should care. Is he a winner and not a loser? Right? It gives the casual fans, the lapsed fans, it gives them a reason to say, hey, there's something about this dude. Captivating. I like it. I'm going to buy that shirt. I'm going to follow him along a little bit closely. His matches, his booking. I can get behind this dude. And when you leave him off TV, you don't even give that chance. You know, it's the IWC. Everyone says, oh, no, they know what they're doing. By leaving him off and by booking LA Knight this way, it's going to make people, it's going to make it even louder, the pops, man. People are going to love him even more. People are going to demand him even more. Who? The IW. That's it. The ones that already were cheering for him and wanted to push. You're not allowing anybody new to come across it. It circles back to Mace and Mansoor. It circles back to them. If you're not even going to use them, how do you think they're going to get over once every couple of months in a weird segment? And then when it fails miserably, the creative is going to say, we tried. No, you didn't. You didn't at all. So it sucks that Mace and Mansoor put everything into this gimmick, Maximum Male Models. They had some really good, like WWE.com type videos that never aired on Raw or SmackDown, and it was actually funny. Very funny. I mean, they did some really good segments. They put everything into it. I'm not saying I needed to see or you needed to see Maximum Male Models, but it's not by lack of effort that failed miserably. WWE failed them way before the gimmicks were ever presented on WWE television. Well, now it looks like they're finally getting the repackage. I don't know if the damage has already been done for these two. We've seen crazy gimmicks in the past that we've given second chances to. And I'm not just talking Ringmaster or Dr. Isaac Yankum. You guys remember these? Anyway, you can go an hour on that because it's just one of those situations where if you just did it right the first time, you wouldn't have to go back and correct wrongs. So hopefully we do see. I mean, it's WWE. You never know. They could show up Monday as Mace and Mansoor still, because Paul Effect is just like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing with these two. You never know. But expect a repackaging with Mace and Mansoor. I just don't know. Listen, they don't even know how to use Dolph Ziggler. They don't know what to do with this guy. He's not even used most Monday nights. Ali, they brought him back to NXT, and he's not even winning their North American Championship. They gave it to Dominic. So I don't know, even if no matter what you do with Mansoor, would WWE truly even know how to book the dude? Mace, I feel, has a better chance. Knowing WWE, they throw him in the Hurt Business. Bobby Lashley, Dawkins, and Ford. Actually, I don't know. Maybe that would be interesting. Anyway, moving on. Listen to this one, man. This one got a lot of people heated. I'm not surprised by it, and I feel like there shouldn't have been anyway. Apparently, there was never any discussion whatsoever of Jey Uso actually beating Roman Reigns. It was just, how do we get to the finish for WWE? Never any discussion. Nobody even had the inkling of the idea to give that title to Jey Uso. A lot of people heard that, upset. How do you not even, ask the question, what if? How do you not even entertain the idea to give it to Jey Uso? Guys, I'm not in that camp. I'm in a different campsite, different tent, not happening. No way should Jey Uso be defeating Roman Reigns. 3 years Roman has had that championship. Montreal, Sami Zayn could not get the job done. WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes couldn't get the job done. People like Big E to Claudio, Cesaro couldn't get the job done. A John Cena and everybody in between. Nobody. Jason Uso's going to get that championship at SummerSlam when the prize, even greater than the World Championship, or that title, that Universal Championship, greater than that was that red tribal lei. They were really fighting over who's the tribal chief of the family. The championship was just a cherry on top. So you're telling me 3 years of Roman Reigns holding that title, and everybody he's beat, it was all for a SummerSlam defeat to his own tag team partner cousin with the Jimmy. Jay was going to beat him, and the championship was secondary. I'm the tribal chief. Oh, and I have the title. Guys, there's no way you can do that. I don't care how you come to the finish. If Jimmy is involved or not, that was the cherry on top, right? That's the icing on the cake. Jimmy, I like how they did that. Was it too surprising to see Jimmy do that? Of course not. But I still like how they did it. At least they did do it. But I don't even care how you get to the finish. Jey Uso cannot walk out of SummerSlam with the championship. You get a big pop, everybody oohs and ahs, we talk about it for a few days, and then we all come to the same conclusion. Whoa! That past 3 years of Roman being champion, and now Jey Uso has the title. It was a good moment. We all respect Jey Uso. It's my favorite tag team, the Usos. So that's cool. But then we're like, okay, now what? What's Jey Uso going to do that Roman didn't do for 3 years? Is Jey Uso being John Cena all of a sudden? Is Jey Uso going to be, is Claudio coming back as Cesaro and he going to beat him? Is Big E going to come back from his neck injury and Jey Uso's going to beat him? Are they going to go to Montreal and Jay's going to beat Sami Zayn? Is Jay going to beat Cody at a WrestleMania 40? None of it would make sense. As much as we love Jey Uso, my favorite tag team, again, I'll say that twice in the last minute. But no, people are upset that WWE never even entertained the idea, is the word that we're getting. And full disclosure, full honesty, as always on this channel, BC never entertained that idea either. It's an idea that never should be. We like the storyline. You want to do that at SummerSlam, that's fine. They ran it back. We've already seen the match. And Roman came out the victor, so I don't know what would have changed now. But if you want to do all that, fine. We could still have a lot of fun with it, have some fun at the finish, which is what we had. But no way can you botch this and actually have Roman walk out of Detroit without the title over Cody Rhodes at Mania, or even Montreal and Sami Zayn. So a lot of wrestling fans were like, "What? They didn't even entertain it." Well, they shouldn't have entertained it. No, that's not what this is. To even entertain that would tell me that this company is clueless. Now, in that same match, moving on with the news, Roman Reigns apparently was injured, and it happened earlier in the match, so he wrestled the rest of that match, which may be the reasoning as to why a lot more of that match was slower. As it went on, of course, it picked up. Of course, adrenaline's there, and you know you're getting closer to the finish anyway, so Roman's probably running on that. But he was injured earlier on in that match. Now, a lot of people are concerned, but not so fast. What I am hearing is that Roman Reigns, this will not affect long-term his planning creatively. In fact, he's going to be on SmackDown this Friday night in a segment, guys. So that makes sense anyway. But he doesn't wrestle anyway, right? So if there's anybody that has a minor injury, you want to hear that it's somebody who's a very part-time. It sucks that he's the champion, but he's only had one title defense since WrestleMania, and that was last Saturday against Jey Uso. Before that, he was on vacation for 2 months, had a bunch of tag matches, And he finally had a title defense. That was April 2nd, WrestleMania against Cody. All of April, May, June, July, and on August 5th, he had his title defense. That is into the 5th separate month, and he finally had a title defense. So what's another couple of months, 2-3 months of of not defending the championship? They can do that. You remember when Stone Cold was at his peak, or when he was rising to that peak, what was getting him to the peak of the mountain? Do you guys remember? It was when he was doing the Corvette shit and all that, and the beer truck. Guys, he was injured during that time. He was injured. The reason they were doing all these shenanigans is they were trying to find ways to put Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show because he couldn't wrestle. And what happened was, it just blew up the popularity of Stone Cold to a whole other level nobody ever have seen before. It was a different level of popularity than Hulk Hogan even. And he was coming to the ring in a beer truck, gets out, gives the Authority a full beer bath. He fills Vince McMahon's Corvette with cement from an actual cement truck. He's riding into the arena with a Zamboni. Monster trucks. You name it. Every week was wild. It made Raw so much fun. You truly didn't know what to expect from Stone Cold Steve Austin. You didn't. You had to tune in every Monday. We called it must-see TV back in the day because you knew where you had to be. It was appointment television. Every Monday night, you knew you had to be watching pro wrestling, Monday Night Raw, and then you had to have that last button ready on the remote control because WCW was pulling some wild shit with the NWO. Monday nights were so fun, man. For anybody who's too young, man, if you could have just experienced that live, there was nothing like it, man. But Stone Cold, man, he was rising to that peak when he was injured. Well, it's the same thing with Roman. You could produce so much epic television while he's injured. No matter the severity of it. And he's already gone nearly 5 full months not defending the title before SummerSlam. What makes you think they won't wait till Survivor Series for his next title defense? So we are hearing that he did get injured earlier in the match. I don't have any specifics on the injury other than what I am hearing, which it is not supposed to affect his planning going forward creatively. And that report looks to be ever so true because he is scheduled for Friday Night SmackDown. I doubt he's going to wrestle, but he will be showing up. Friday night at SmackDown. Moving on. Talent cuts. This has been a big topic of discussion. We thought around Mania or coming out of Mania, there'd be a big round of talent cuts, roster cuts. Not so fast. It didn't happen. Yay. Now here's the nay. This is the bad news. Talent cuts are supposed to, or at least talks are supposed to. Hold on, let me get the actual. September. Talks are supposed to take place once the Endeavor deal with WWE closes in September. So around that time, maybe into October, but before the holidays, talks from Endeavor are supposed to take place. And that's once the deal, because a lot of people think WWE and the Endeavor deal has already been finalized. It basically is, guys. There's no going back on it. But the final dots are going to be put in place. The final T's are going to be crossed. Come September. That's when the deal literally goes on to the market and you can start trading. The stock market is going to boom. They're hoping anyway. But that's when it's going to start hitting the stocks and that's where it becomes very real. And that's where the flywheel rule comes into play. The flywheel effect is what Endeavor calls it. And a big part of that flywheel business model from Endeavor, they did it with the UFC and they're going to do it big time with WWE, is cuts. Now, they said, Nick Khan has said, we do not anticipate roster cuts. At least not initially. That's not the talks. Well, I believe them because they haven't even gotten to that point. Endeavor actually stepped on those comments and already admitted they're gonna follow the same flywheel business model that they followed with UFC, and there was a ton of cuts. Now, a big portion of WWE's expenses is the roster, unlike UFC, by the way, where they were able to cut a lot more like employee type individuals. There's only so many you can do at WWE that they didn't already do. They already cleaned house before they made the sale over the last couple of years. So now you're going to be put in a position where if you want to cut 25 to 50% of your expenses, you're going to have to dip into the roster. And I'm talking 20 to 30 contracts up front based on my estimated Steiner math. So nothing official, but September, when they finalize this deal, that is when the real talks of the flywheel and how we're going to cut down to the number that they want to be at expense-wise to pump up their revenue to the most amplified and maxed of measures. That's when those talks are going to happen. Makes sense that they would want to do it before the holidays so they don't look like the bad guys. We're releasing people right before Christmas. Very, very surprising if they have these talks and wait till next year. They're going to want that return immediately for the next quarter. When they have that, man, just picture that next quarterly conference call when all the revenue reports are up and Endeavor is now talking with VKM and Nick Khan and all of them. They're talking about how much they lost. What did they gain? Record revenue. How was the stocks? I'm just picturing Endeavor like running those talks because that's what's going to happen in the next quarterly. And they're going to want to show their shareholders that everything is hunky-dory. Every morning, everybody's shitting rainbows, man. So, you never want to hear that, but just because WrestleMania came and went without any roster cuts or talent cuts, not so fast. And I wanted to say that because last week there was a report saying that WWE has no plans on roster cuts going forward. Well, 48 hours ago, we got word that, whoa, they actually haven't even had the discussions yet. Once they close the deal in September, that's when talks will start. Do they do these talent cuts, which are coming? I'm telling you now, guys, there's no way to get where they want to go. You guys can put on your Google machines, go to the Flywheel and Endeavor and how they did business about UFC. They're going to go to a targeted number that they need to reach. They don't want to have all these expenses. They want to pull in as much revenue as possible. You do that, unfortunately, by firing people, or when it comes to talent, what's called cuts. It's unfortunate. But there's no way Endeavor is going to be able to go forward with the number that they want, or at least is projected, and they're not going to have to cut loose 20 to 30 individuals. Or are they going to do like 40 developmentals down in NXT to try to make up that number and only 10 main roster people? Be on the lookout for that, guys. It's happening within the next couple of months. September is when the deal finalizes, Endeavor WWE, and then they start talking, how can we pull in the max revenue? Interesting discussion. Also, I wanted to talk about this earlier. This is a good time to do that. November is a big month for WWE. 2 big PLEs. Now, AEW is saying, hold my coffee. We're not sitting on the sidelines. Wait till you hear what they're doing. So AEW, let me try to get some dates here. November 4th, I think that's the date. WWE is going to Saudi Arabia for their big live event, premium live event, PPV. It's still pay-per-view to BC. November 4th. November 25th. 11, 18, what do we got? 11, 18, 25. 3 weeks later. So the November 4th seems to be a right date because that's a Saturday, I believe. 3 weeks later, November 25th, WWE is putting on their Survivor Series event from Chicago, Illinois. So within 3 weeks' time, you're going to have Saudi Arabia's big WWE PLE, and you're going to have Survivor Series. I can't stand when they put 2 pay-per-views back-to-back within just a few weeks. AEW's doing that with All In and All Out in 1 week's time. I don't even know how that's going to pan out. Everybody's going to be burned out by All In, probably. That's going to be a huge Wembley Stadium event on the 27th. But big month for WWE in November. November 4th, November 25th. Saudi Arabia, Chicago, Survivor Series. AEW is snuggling right in between that. They said, hold my coffee, we want in on this. November 18th, we are hearing that AEW, Tony Khan, is going to produce a Full Gear, I believe, is the event. Full Gear, November 18th from Los Angeles. That's the word we're getting. Now, that's a massive event. Tony Khan, AEW in LA. All right, you want to go all the way to Saudi Arabia? You want to put on this big event in our territory of Chicago? Because AEW, where WWE is more New York, AEW is more Chicago. You're going to be in Chicago for Survivor Series. We're going to take over what we know VKM and Paul Levesque McMahon love, LA. They've done the New York thing, in New York, New Jersey, all that stuff. But let's go to LA, man. That's something that really is going to piss off WWE, right? They're in Hollywood. WWE loves to be associated with that. This is the perfect placement, I feel, for Tony Khan and AEW, because November is going to be stolen headline-wise by WWE. Two big events. It's Survivor Series. WWE is going to want all the headlines. We're going to be out of All In and All Out by then. This is where WWE is going to want to tell AEW, simmer down. So for them to go to Los Angeles with Full Gear, pretty badass, man. And if it's the 18th, that would mean that's a Saturday as well. Right? The 4th, Saturday, 11th, 18th. Yeah, so all these events are going to be Saturday. Saudi Arabia, WWE, Survivor Series, WWE, both of them, and AEW Full Gear looks to be on a Saturday, not a Sunday. Yeah. At least that's the. I mean, I don't got the November calendar, man. This is all off the top of the dome piece, but it's going to be a big month of November wrestling wise, guys. So just because we're going into the holidays, don't sit on pro wrestling. It's going to heat up, man. AEW, Tony Khan is saying, "Hey, bro, I'll go right into I'll split it down the middle. You want to put on these two big shows? We'll be right in the middle, and we'll put on our show a week before Survivor Series. We'll try to burn them out for Survivor Series." Pretty big. Where do you guys want to go next, man? I told you I told you this was packed, stacked, and jacked today. I tried to tell you, man, a lot of stories to go over. I ain't even done. Let's go over to let's go to the ratings real quick. We'll do the Raw rating this week. Monday Night Raw's rating this week was a 1.89. 1.89 with a .061. 18 to 49 demo, their key demo, 0.61. That's actually really good, 0.61. 189 is up 0.10 from last week. It was a 1.79 last week. This week, 1.89. Obviously, it's good to go up. And a lot of fans thought that this was a decent show. Even BC said that at least there was some headline, like LA Knight and Miz. I know, it's Miz. People who didn't watch the show, they're like, BC, are you praising a Miz segment? That's exactly what I'm doing. Miz was amplified. And I really enjoyed that promo between LA Knight and Miz. I know, but if you watch it and listen to it, it was actually pretty good. The brawl between Raquel and Rhea was really well done. And I know, you're saying, BC, man. Smile Santana, you're being positive about? It was a good brawl. And the addition of Indy Hartwell and Candice made it even more real. A lot of these brawls, we see too many of them, and they're out of place. Doesn't look like it belongs. It's too forced. The brawl is just stupid. This was like real, man. I mean, these ladies, it looked like a real something you would see like out in the project somewhere. And BC knows, I grew up there. I saw a lot of these fights with the ladies especially, and they would just brawl like that. I mean, it literally looked like Candice was just trying to take out Rhea, and Rhea was really trying to get at Indy, Candice, and Raquel. So the brawl was really good, I felt. JD McDonuts and trying to slither his way into Judgment Day, and you kind of feel bad for Damian Priest because you really feel he's a good dude trying to do best for the group, and you think that Finn Balor is coming out like the ultimate douche here. It's good. So, and there was other things as well. So there was headlines at least, or at least things to talk about more in the positive than the negative. So no matter how you viewed Raw, BC's not going to call it a good show. It was decent, a lot of it, though. So that's good to see. But because it's post-SummerSlam's Raw, you wanted more than a 1.89. That's just the truth. Because if you look at just last year's post-SummerSlam rating, let me see if I have the number exact. I do. 2.23, guys. Last year's SummerSlam, 2.23 million. This year, 1.89. You see how it drops. Now, you say that's only a few thousand. That's tens of thousands of people that said no thank you this year. They didn't need to tune into Raw after SummerSlam. You don't want to see tens of thousands of people feeling like they can just watch highlights or, oops, we missed it, but I have no FOMO, no fear of missing out. I'll catch it next week, maybe. No, you want them to view. You want that 2.23 from last year's post-SummerSlam Raw, and you want even more. You want to get that to a 0.63. Why not go up 40 to 50,000 instead of lose 40 to 50,000? So year to year, it's a fail, but at least they went up 10,000 from last week, but that is not good it's your second biggest pay-per-view in the calendar year for that company, and they only pulled 10,000 more viewers. Rough. Funny enough, people were going because Vince had his spinal surgery. Everyone's going, well, it was more decent because Paul Levesque McMahon is running more of it now. You gotta laugh. When is it gonna end with that? The blame game. Paul Levesque McMahon has been controlling most of Raw. And he said that he goes to Vince for ideas, and you would be silly not to utilize his greatness, because he still has the greatest mind in the business. This was a quote from Levesque after SummerSlam at the media scrum. He said he's forgotten more about pro wrestling than you'll ever know. He said you'd be silly not to go to him for ideas when you're in a conundrum or for counsel. I'm not saying you don't see McMahon on these shows, but everyone's so quick to say, hey, that was decent. It must have all been Paul Levesque McMahon. Well, first of all, look at the decent parts. Miz and LA Knight? Is that really a Paul Levesque, told Miz to amplify himself? No, Miz has always amplified himself. It just wasn't on camera. So if you follow the channel, we always talk about an amplified Miz is best for business. We've seen that in the past. It comes out once in a while. But Miz has always been a Vince McMahon guy. And that's one of the biggest highlights of the show. On top of that, Big Bronson Reed. Paul Levesque guy, we're told, right? Not so fast, but that's what we're told. But Big Bronson Reed is losing via Shinsuke pretty simplistically this past Monday. So how was that Tommaso Ciampa loses again. Last week he's being rolled up. This week he loses again. But that's Paul Levesque McMahon's boy. Why would he just have Tommaso lose on this losing streak, right? You say that's more like Vince McMahon's booking. Guys, I can keep going on and on. You had another nonsensical tag team match. 6-man schmaz this week. Inconsistencies. Which is it? Let's just agree that you see Vince McMahon on these shows, you see Paul Levesque, and both have ups and downs. Even Paul Levesque gets a lot wrong on these shows. It's okay to just admit that. The pedestal they put this guy on. It's so funny. Can't we just say, hey, they went up a little bit in the rating, but way down from last year's? No. Instead, the discussion is, hey, it was a little decent. Must be Paul Levesque. And then we'll hear a report, right? Vince McMahon was actually working remotely from home with his spinal surgery rehab. And then everybody will go, come to think of it, it was a bad show. Tommaso lost, and Bronson, and a main event was horrible. The wrestling community, man, you always get a good laugh at it. But that was Raw's rating, down from last year's year-over-year SummerSlam post-show, but up from last week just a little bit. Now, football's coming back in a few weeks, and they have yet to hit 2 million. I tried to tell you guys, man, when it was dipping 2-2, and then 2, and then 1-7, and then 1-5. And people go, don't worry, BC, once football is over, it'll be back to 2-2 and even 2-5. I said, guys, they're going to be hard-pressed to even hit 2 million again. They're going to have a hard time getting to 2 million because people, when they miss something over and over, there's no more fear of missing out. There's no more FOMO. And that's what happened with WWE. Every week, they'd rather watch football or anything else because wrestling was not captivating. And they missed it so many weeks, they said, hey, I don't feel any different way. I get to save 3 hours of my Monday night. And a lot of those fans never came back. So they're going to start football season under 2 million. And where do you think it's going to go, guys? During good games. And the product is not captivating still. It's going to dip to 1.5, 1.4, and do they hit 1.3 and lower? Don't be shocked if Raw ends up in the 1.3s at some point during football season this year. Now, over in NXT, listen to this rating. This shocked a lot of people. But if you were following the trajectory of NXT, probably shouldn't be. The last 4 weeks, including this week, they have been over 700,000 viewers. That's massive because they've been sitting between 5 and, if they're lucky, 600 viewers over the last several months. 1 full month, over 700,000 viewers. And this week was massive for them. 776,000 viewers for NXT this week. Tuesday night, 776,000 viewers. Up from last week's 717,000, which was considered really good for them. So they went up, let me do my Steiner math. 27, 37, 47, 57, 67, 59,000 viewers. They went up 59,000. That's tens of thousands of people tuned into this week's Tuesday night NXT show. 776. To give you some transparency, Dynamite has been roughly pulling about 850. Give or take. Sometimes a little lower, sometimes more closer to 9. We'll see what this event does for AEW Dynamite from this past Wednesday, but roughly 850. Guys, NXT is now creeping closer to 800,000 viewers. They're about to compete with Dynamite again. It's been a while since we were able to say that, but Dynamite has fallen from 950 consistently to 850, and NXT has pulled from 575 to now 775. 200,000 viewers within a few months' time. This was their best viewership in 2 straight years, by the way, for NXT. That's massive. So unfortunately, anybody, JR9, man, and anybody that really loved the NXT product over the last year or two, and what HBK was doing and all of that, that looks to be gone for good because these main roster talent showing up and winning their titles and beating all of the NXT talent, that is pulling in big time numbers. And here's the thing, man. This is what's really big. And this is why WWE is not going to stop doing what they're doing with NXT. They were number 1 for the night. That has not happened in the longest time. You talk about unusual. NXT this past Tuesday was number 1 for the night. And they did it with only like a .23 in the 18 to 49 demo. And why that's big is because the reason they're doing this whole main roster to NXT and all of that is because the rights fees are coming up. They're going to have to go to the negotiating table, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and they're going to be going to these networks, Comcast, NBC, Universal, and Fox, Amazon Prime, who knows, whoever wants to negotiate. And they're going to say, look what we're doing, even with our developmental, is what Paul Levesque McMahon calls it, even though all the main roster is in there now, right? Good college program when all the pros go back to college. But that's what they claim it is, and that's what they're going to try to sell it as, right? This isn't even our main roster, and we're competing with the second biggest promotion in the States, AEW. They're pulling roughly 8 some-odd every week. We are now pulling 8 some-odd every week. Because if they can get 24 more thousand viewers, they literally can say we're right there with the second biggest promotion, and that's not even our main roster, or at least not one of our 2 main shows. Look what we can offer your network. That is why it's big. Best rating in 2 years, number 1 for the night on Tuesday, up 59,000 viewers from last week alone, and creeping toward 800,000 Dynamite numbers. Anybody who loved the NXT over the last year or two, that just changed drastically going forward. Man, 776. I don't even think this was one of their biggest marketing-wise anyway, or promotional, one of their best weeks. I've seen NXT shows over the last month or two that have been much more heavily marketed and promoted. Interesting. If you guys are wondering, Collision from last Saturday, it went head-to-head with Summerslam. A lot of people are wondering, how did Collision do numbers-wise, going up against this conglomerate, Summerslam? Well, BC has the number. AEW Collision pulled 417,000 viewers this past Saturday. 417,000 viewers. That is down 44% from last week. Nearly 50% down. They were 7 some odd last week. That's a really good number for them because a lot of people thought they were already kind of mellowed down into the 5s consistently. No, they said, hold my coffee. We're going to put together a show, even though it's Saturday night, and they got back to 7 some odd. So that was actually, BC gave that a major pass. And then Summerslam, I told you guys before Saturday, I said, man, of all the times, they get back to 7 some odd. They debuted at 8 some odd. They finally got back to 7 2 weeks ago. And then this past week, Summerslam hits them like a ton of bricks. I actually felt bad for them. I'm like, oh no, man, can they stay afloat? Can they somehow stay in the 500s? No, they pulled 417. Man, on one hand, you say at least they stayed afloat. Rampage numbers. And going against SummerSlam, that means that 417,000 fans, maybe some of them weren't and they were just fucking left something on TV and they were doing something else. But 417,000 people decided not to watch SummerSlam. Maybe they were watching both, actually. You got 2 TVs. But their attention still wasn't just on Summer. 417,000. On one hand, you say, hey, man, at least they stayed afloat. On the other hand, wow, when you lose 44% of your audience, you have to think you just lost all that viewership. Well, like all the stories that you did have or the progression that you want people to remember, a whole week went by and half of your audience didn't even see your product. So that's what hurts there is 44% of your audience said check you from the week before. From 7 some odd to now barely over 400,000 viewers. I know that's a horrendous number, but they're on Saturday nights, and there was nothing that even Phil CM Punk Brooks was going to be able to do, guys. It's not even, is he still a draw or not? He is not a big enough draw to help AEW's third show, Rampage, they couldn't even pull out of the mud. Rampage is stuck, and instead of fixing Rampage, they came up with a third show. Just put Punk on Rampage and repackage Rampage. Why a third show on another obscure time and night? You guys know I'm right. So the deck was stacked against them anyway. So 417,000... can they get back to sniffing that 700,000 this week, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I see maybe they split the difference. Maybe they can creep into the 6s. I don't know if you're going to pull the whole 7 sem-odd back. And when people miss 1 week, it can lead to 2, 3, and sem-odd. There's no more FOMO, no more fear of missing out. I think if they can establish back in the 6 for this Saturday, 6 sem-odd in the rating, 600-something thousand, I think that will at least get their footing back. So that's Collision's number from last week. I think that's all the ratings. Now let me go over Dynamite's results, not a review, but the results from last night. And I just think this is important because we're inching closer to All In, and there was just nothing was really announced, and we're just a few weeks away. So now, All In takes shape a little bit better coming out of Wednesday. They started the show off Jericho Appreciation Society actually breaking up. Each member saying what they had to say to Jericho and taking off. We had a little bit of dancing, talking about how much people love Hager's hat. Ty Conti saying she's going and having her baby, and when she comes back, she's going to win titles and everything without Jericho. Guevara actually just smacking the mic out of Jericho's hands. Everybody with a good, passionate promo. And Jericho is basically afterwards, after JAS is disassembled, broken up for good, Jericho is being consoled by Don Callis afterwards. So, pretty good start. Surprised they actually dismantled them in that manner, but we'll see. I don't think it's the end. It's pro wrestling. One day, the band will get back together. Young Bucks defeated the Hardys via pinfall. Mutual respect post-match. You kind of knew that was coming. FTR hits the ring. 2 words are said, and that's it. All In. FTR, Young Bucks. Let's run it back. Jack Perry defeats RVD via pinfall. The fruitiest of roll-ups. A little bit of help from a steel chair and holding the tights. roll-up nonetheless. MJF and Adam Cole, funny segment at a trampoline park. MJF is just pegging kids off in dodgeball. If you want an LOL moment, man, this was it. In a different segment, MJF is telling Cole, because he thinks he's asking Cole if he wants to do a promo battle. Cole's like, no, but MJF gave a few promo digs anyway. And MJF says, I got to get this quote. MJF calls Cole so pale and skinny that if he was the 1980s, Hulk Hogan would have snorted him. Come on, another LOL moment there, bro. Adam Cole says he wants the ROH tag titles at 0 hour at Wembley for All In. So 0 hour is like their kickoff pregame show. And Adam Cole and MJF are going for ROH tag titles, which means they're pulling double duty. They're going to be main eventing, obviously, for the title during the actual show, All In. And now they're going to set up the show. And the kick, I like that idea, actually. It's stupid. Okay, this is twofold. Them going for the ROH tag titles makes no sense. And I know Adam Cole said it's the one set of titles that's eluded him or something like that, right? How much ROH means to him. It was his real start. There's a connection and he wants these. Come on, man. You're going for the world title. You got bigger fish to fry. Nobody's believing you're going for tag. It's just weird. On the other hand, I love this business-wise. Because you are putting your world champion, your main event, you're putting them in a tag match right before the pay-per-view. A lot of people are going to put that on that are not expecting to pay $50, $60, 40, whatever it is, for the pay-per-view. But you're going to make them watch 0 hour to see this match. I like it. Business-wise, I like it. Anyway, moving on. Roddy Strong ends up coming out. Roddy Strong says he's upset that Adam Cole doesn't want to win tag titles with him. They're supposed to be like brothers. Like, what is this? And, man, MJF just rang this dude up. MJF says, and I quote, he's tired of these ex-girlfriend vibes from Roddy Strong. He says, go home, cry into your Hello Kitty pillow, put on your headphones, and listen to Taylor Swift and shake it off. He calls him a mid-vanilla something. He just wrecked Roddy Strong, man. Absolutely wrecked this dude. Roddy just walked off. Cole actually shoves MJF. Like, that's still my friend. Just because we have this, that's still my boy. So MJF and Adam Cole hug it out, and he says, go get your boy. Go console him. I'm sorry. So, pretty good stuff, man. And just funny more than anything. Mox and Claudio of Blackpool Combat Club. They defeated the Lucha Bros. Mox pinned Penta. I believe that was via the fruitiest of roll-ups as well. So you got AEW doing a couple of the roll-up finishes. I feel we can always do better than the roll-ups. It's very lazy booking. But there's no way that the Blackpool Combat Club, BCC, cannot win this match. They had to. So I don't care if it's a roll-up or if Mox has thumbtacks out there and he's bleeding like always. I don't care how you get to the finish. They got to be walking out with the victory. And then post-match, a beating by BCC to the Lucha Bros to boot. So that was very good to see again. Don't just get the W. Establish yourself again as the badasses that you were supposed to be. And a lot of people are giving up on. Kenny Omega says he'll address his future, more specifically All In, and his plans for All In next week on Dynamite. A tag team coffin match is then set up for All In. Sting and Darby Allin versus Fox and Strickland. See, this is what I don't like. You want to put the stipulation, okay, it should be fun, no doubt, but it doesn't make sense. Their feud, or lack thereof, this situation doesn't call for a coffin match. A tag team coffin. Save that for when you actually want to do that type of match. Sometimes in wrestling, we just put a stipulation on something or a match type, a gimmick tree, that doesn't need the stipulation or the gimmick tree. Doesn't need that gimmick. Interesting. I can't say it's in the best of ways. I don't know about a tag team coffin match for these four individuals, but that's Darby's thing, I guess. Undertaker, I can see it. Darby Allin? I don't know, but that's his thing. Sheeta is put in the main event, second week in a row. Big gamble. I gotta give props to Tony Khan. I have to. I tell you guys how difficult of a decision this is. In the States, anyway. Women's wrestling doesn't connect, and it's a shame because women's wrestling today, you look at these rosters, Impact, AEW, WWE, NXT, the local bingo hall. These are some of the best women's wrestlers we have ever seen. Ever. And that's with respect to Luna Vachon, Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry, to the Alundra Blazes, to the Bull Nakanos, to the Fabulous Moolahs, to the Mae Youngs, to the Windy Rectors. I get it. Much love and respect. But the talents today, like a Mercedes Moné or a Trinity Fatu, an Io Shirai Sky, Layla Hirsch, Roxy, Asuka, Bayley, even Britt Baker can hold it down. The women today, man. Ember Moon, who you guys forgot about. She's over in ROH. I still can't believe they botched her. That's another podcast. Because she's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I just feel like just sticking her in ROH is just, man, that's not right either. She should be a big, big force in AEW. The women's wrestling today is just top notch. And it just doesn't connect. And a big reason of that is that the booking does not back them. The companies don't know how to utilize them. And when they try to put them out there, no matter where they're seg, the ratings fall flat and they drop. And it's a vicious cycle. The promoters get scared at that point. Oh shit, we want a high rating. We know that that's not going to do it. But it's because you haven't went all in with the best of and the most proper of booking for them. So because of that, there is no care. And then it's just a vicious cycle. There's no care, so we don't care. So the ratings fall flat. They then get the numbers the next morning and say, oops, the women didn't pull, so we cannot push them any more than we already are. And it's a vicious cycle. So Tony Khan is finally just taking a massive gamble. He's putting them in the main event. That's the good news. The bad news is, if you're putting Shida versus Anna Jay, and this is no disrespect, in fact, I am one of the biggest Shida supporters. I was when she was champion the first time around, and she was getting dogged out by a lot of people. And I felt she put that company on her back, women-wise. During the Plandem especially, at a time where that company needed somebody sturdy, durable, and ready to rock, Shida was perfect for that. And I like the decision to put him in the main event last week and give her the title. I understand the flip side. You got the pay-per-views coming up. It's always much more impactful and meaningful, and it's better for Toni Storm, no question. But I can't dog out the 200th episode of Dynamite. Really want to pull in the eyeballs, get people interested for the pay-per-views, and they give it to Shida of all people in the main event. I can't dog out that decision last week. But you have to question, if you're giving the main event second week in a row, Shida versus Anna Jay is the best you can come up with? This is what I mean about the vicious cycle. So now, if the ratings fall flat or people say that match was horrible or whatever you hear, Tony now gets scared and says, oh man, I tried. Now we can't do that anymore. Well, did you really try Shida and Anna Jay? So I love what Tony is trying 2 weeks in a row. You have to take that gamble. You have to step out on that ledge, take the risk to get that big reward and get those ratings up and get people interested to view the product and enjoy the work of Shida in the roster. So on one hand, I totally give props to Tony Khan. On the other hand, I totally question this call. What you're putting out there in the main event. Why? With the roster you have, the Ember Moons, as I just said, playing around in ROH. Like, is that Anna Jay and Shida? When I heard that, I was like, you I don't know, man. I don't know. If you told me somebody like Ember Moon was going to take on Shida in the main, right? Even though she's ROH, That would, or Athena, Ember Moon, Athena, whatever. If you told me that she was going to be taking on Sheeta, okay, now we can rock, you know? People are going to be, it's going to be a great match. I'm just using Ember Moon too, by the way, Athena. I'm just using her as just an example, right? There's so many you could put out there that are going to really deliver something that is going to captivate. Anna Jay versus Sheeta. I don't want to harp on this. This was a moment for them to gain something big. And once again, we're going to play the same vicious cycle. I don't think the rating is going to pop for that Q8 segment. I'm already hearing people go, oh, what a horrible main event. You don't put yourself in the position to succeed. And then we're going to go right back to, oh man, that fell flat. We can't do that anymore, or at least not often. I wish, if you're going to dedicate the main event 2 weeks in a row to the ladies, I wish we had something huge each week. Really tell the audience why they should give a fuck. Not just for that main event, for next week as well, with a massive cliffhanger, and the women are stealing the headlines. I know this wasn't going to be a review, just the results. But you're so close. He's giving them a bigger opportunity, the ladies. I just don't think this is the best that he can do. Sheeta defeats Anna Jay, by the way, in the main event via pinfall. And I don't think I have... You guys were wondering... Yeah, NXT's results. I don't have JR9 Gaming, my right-hand man on the channel. I don't have his report up yet, so I don't have those results, guys. So that's why I'm just doing Dynamites. And if you're wondering why I don't do full reviews of those shows, it's just been a rule on the channel. Once in a while, I give you guys a bonus and I will review the shows, but if a show or a company cannot hit 1 million viewers, not just company, but the show does not hit 1 million viewers, it just doesn't get reviewed. Because the thought process behind that is, if not that many really people care about the show itself, who cares about it being reviewed? So that's why we don't really do the reviews for the AEWs or the NXTs or the local bingo hall or the Impacts. We don't do that. If they hit 1 million plus consistently, absolutely, we will review those shows, guys. But it's a way to just keep the content fresh with a lot of things that people want to hear about. And a lot of these companies, they just can't hit 1 million viewers. So most people don't care about the show itself. They're not going to be inclined to listen to a review on it. So that's why we don't do reviews. But I thought it was important to at least go over the results for Dynamite as we're this close to All In. Now, the last podcast we put up was the Raw review. And there was some super chat, super thankses in there. So as we near the end of this podcast, let me give some shout outs to some of my Amplified Unit members. I got to get it up on the big screen, so please hold. Here we go. So I want to give a shout out over to Big Nang. Big Nang was the super thanker over in the Raw review with a couple of 2-spot super thankses, a couple of coffees. Big Nang says there's a lot of torch been passed, and Brockton versus Cody Rhodes, I like that, Cody Runnels, wasn't one of them. Same like with Hogan versus Warrior, Rock versus Hogan, Rock versus Cena. Their larger-than-life superstars collide. Past versus present dream matches. They all got their own torches. Matches like Brett versus Flair in Saskatoon. Austin versus HBK, WrestleMania 14. Rock versus Brockton. 2002. Triple H versus Batista, WrestleMania 21. Were actually torch-passing matches. Yes, what Big Nang is talking about, we talked in depth the last couple of podcasts about people saying that Brockton passed the torch to Cody when he, took his hand out and they shook hands and he held up Cody's arm. No. Brock debuted 2002, Cody Rhodes 5 years later, 2007. Cody Rhodes has been wrestling 16 years professionally plus. Cody Rhodes started his own promotion, AEW, with his buddies and a big-time money guy in Tony Khan. But he started his own promotion. This guy has been champion upon champion upon champion. He traveled the world at a top level 15 times over, then some. 100 times over, then some. This guy has had a whole career. Cody's on top of the wrestling world, sharing it with a few others. He doesn't need Brock Lesnar passing a torch. It's not like Cody just started 5 years ago or 3 years ago, 10 years ago. He's on his 17th year professionally. He's already done it all, other than getting the actual championship. It's a sign of respect. It's Brock saying, hey, this is the guy to go forward. We already know that, Brock. We don't need you to tell us that. The story was he shows up once a month and breaks Cody's arm. He talks shit in front of his mother, beats him up in front of his family, and that's the story. Cody slaying that beast. After their third match in this summer-long weird feud, shaking hands and holding his arm up, and Cody smiling, and they're best of friends. It doesn't make sense. Dude broke your arm 17 times. Now you're buddies. You're so happy to gain Brock's respect. It doesn't make sense. And again, Paul Levesque McMahon said it was not planned. It was just Brock business for himself. He thought it was the right thing to do in the moment. No, it's not, storyline-wise. I understand. Fans are like, I thought it was a cool moment. Okay. The fans in attendance got to pop for it. It's a sign of respect. It's definitely cool on one hand, no question. It doesn't make sense, and it's not cool on the other hand. I'd rather not see that. Just give a handshake backstage. It doesn't go with the stories, man. There's only so much pulling back the curtain you can do before the business is just done. Once you just get rid of kayfabe fully, and you just do these moments nonstop, then what the fuck is the point? Anyway, that's probably why this whole feud started almost 4 months ago, at the beginning of summer. It's probably, or right after Mania. It didn't even have a purpose to the story, and it's probably because they didn't care anyway. So you might as well have them hugging it out when it's all said and done, which is basically what happened. You're exactly right, Big Nang. It was not a passing of the torch. It's so stupid. Big Nang also, with a coffee, says, if Big E's wrestling career is going to be cut short, I'd rather want to see him on the commentating table. I love his hype and energy, and he can definitely sell products better than Mitchell Cole. Mitchell Cole. I like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would mind that as long as he leaves some of the comedy off, right? He can't just be totally off-the-wall comedy, because that's what just makes me turn away from the New Day. Like, he's got to, like, be serious and real as well. You know, the thing with New Day is they can just be so off-the-wall stupid at times. It's just like, all right, no comedy right now. Please, sell a real feud so we care. So you guys know I love Big E. You guys know that. Extensively, I've covered that. Big E is just awesome. And there's no question, if he can never wrestle again, he needs to do something in that company, because his aura, his presence, his skill, his talent, his gift to gab, all of it, Big E checks off every box. But yeah, he would have to just don't be so off the wall is all I would ask. You know, because you listen to Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston when they're on commentary with Big E. You know, New Day has done commentary a lot, watching a match or whatever, and it's just like 10 minutes of just, it's nauseating. You gotta literally just mute the TV. But I would say yes, if he's going to do it properly. You know, jokes are cool, but be serious in the moment too. Do justice to the wrestlers in the ring, and I think he would. But, yeah, I don't even want to think about Big E's just career being done. But it doesn't look good because, again, he chose not to have the surge, and I respect that totally. But what happens with that, with where the fracture was, most of the time we hear that it doesn't heal properly. You could still walk and do all that, but being cleared to wrestle, that's a long shot. That's not something that's... I don't think the odds are going to be in his favor, but if anybody can overcome those, it's definitely Big E. Big Nang! Appreciate you, brah. Guys, where are we? Oh, way over an hour. I told you there was so much to talk about. I tried to put it within an hour. Hey, you can't do it sometimes, man. So we'll leave at that. SmackDown is tomorrow night, of course, as we inch closer to All In's big event. So that's the big news stories there. Roman Reigns going up to SmackDown. AEW's big event is just a couple of weeks away, and then they have another one a week after in All Out. So a lot still coming up, guys. Until next time, and there will be a next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying check you. Peace.